talking to Rick, and 59 days ago, right, we were in the air on the plane and hit the ground right out here. So it's been unbelievable. Certainly very thankful for the reception. People have been incredible. I think the old Ray Allen quote, "The greatest gift that we have in life is opportunity." And I'm extremely thankful for this opportunity. Dr. Fox and Scott Strickland, his staff, have been absolute professionals. Everyone within the UAA and all that they do to contribute to recruiting and really the transition and logistics of our entire staff has been great. I think that we talk to the players a lot about plan our work and work our plan, right? And I think that's what we've tried to do. A lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights here, but it's been really good. We took on the December National Signing Day, the contact period there, which was really quick. And then what I'm calling the winter portal period, right? A little bit like free agency to some degree. And then you move the team into phase one, the off season, and then we just tackled the January contact period and February National Signing Day. All the while we're building a staff, right? We're hiring a lot of people at the same time. So I think my job has gotten a lot easier with each addition to the staff, and we're thankful for that. That's probably the most important thing that we do is hire really good people. It takes a team, right? Operations, personnel, on-campus recruiting, the Gator-Made program, creative, the video department, OCR, equipment, the university community, all the professors, all the advisors, the tutors, Jeff and his staff over at the Hawkins Center, and certainly those UAA pilots. I was thankful for them in the first period, but even more thankful in the pride that they took in their role in this past month or so. So, I think that there's a lot of people to thank in the community. Hotel Elio, we used them the last couple of weekends, and they were exceptional. Spurrier's, Coach Spurrier, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Blue Water Bay, several other local places that really help us out, and that's been great. I think evaluation and recruitment is kind of a separate entity. Then the players arrive, and it's time to develop them and motivate them and improve their lives as people, students, and players. I've been very pleased with the progress that we've made. I thought we answered a lot of needs. I thought we took advantage of each opportunity to add players to the team. Obviously, you've got a list there of the guys that have signed so far. Just added a few more just a couple minutes ago, and then, we've got more to go today. So, much like we said before, one day at a time, one person at a time, we've added some really good people since the last time we stood up here with you guys. Not only football players, but also staff members. So, what questions do we have here?
Questions? Zach?
Hey, Billy, we'll talk about today's addition, Caleb. I want to say he was the first recruit that you offered. What did you see in him early on, and what was it like battling, trying to get his pledge?
Yeah, Caleb's a unique athlete. Caleb's a former quarterback who had made the transition to playing receiver as a junior. He was in our recruiting footprint at Louisiana, so we had evaluated him, had a previous relationship with him, and really felt great about the upside. And then you turn the senior tape on, much like we expected. The guy really took off and had a great year. I think his best football's ahead of him. He was 6'3", 192 pounds on his official visit. He's really got another gear. Fantastic ball skills, and more importantly, the guy's really got his act together. He's a great kid, great student, incredible family. I think that he's the type of person, the type of athlete that we want at the University of Florida. So it's a big win today. Kerry Colbert was outstanding. in that situation had a previous relationship. He was committed to Southern Cal at one point. Kerry was there. So, yeah, very fortunate to get Caleb.
And then you mentioned that you feel like you addressed a lot of needs. What were some of the ones that you felt like were the biggest priorities that you feel like you guys hit?
Well, I think, running back, obviously, I think was a critical need, just to create some depth on our team. Corner, I think up front on the offensive line, the 2 transfers and high school players, and then the defensive line, right? So across the board, I think it's a pretty diverse group. I don't necessarily, I'd probably be leaving something out. I think each year, you're really trying to develop depth on your team. But we've made good work of each opportunity, right? I thought December, you get to go on the road for 4 days. I mean, we were able to put together a pretty good group there. And then obviously, I thought we did good work in the portal. And then today's been a great day. So I think across the board, I'm pleased with each position.
Andrew Thompson.
Yeah, hey Billy. So you don't know anything else as a head coach with this early signing period, but how much does it jam up the calendar having that? Then you're getting in the 5th or whatever you did your introductory, and what does it require from a staff and you yourself just to putting all those pieces together with all the pressure?
Yeah, no, I think I tell you, I've been a huge fan, been a big advocate of the early signing period. I just think, that's been a great addition in my opinion. I think that's helped the quality of life of the assistant coaches. It's certainly, created a little bit more of security. You can kind of move on to the next group. I think a lot of young men we've seen over time that they've got it figured out. I think about 80% of the kids, 85% of the kids are signing in December. And, I think that's been pretty consistent since they've created that. So I think the bigger issues now are kind of what I'm calling the winter portal period and the spring portal period, right? That's the new dynamic. I think that's that's what we've got to kind of get our arms around as leaders in this college football dynamic that we have there. So I think that's where the changes and adjustments probably need to be made, if that makes sense. This was the first year, where that was expected to be an option for the player, and then all of a sudden you've got a lot of different dynamics, in terms of it's almost like you added two different free agency periods that you've got to have a plan for, right? And that requires work, that requires planning. So I think that's probably the newest change and the thing that we need to make adjustments to, in my opinion.
How close are you to the staff that you envisioned? I mean, it's gotten pretty big, but how close are you to completing it? And what's the key to building chemistry within this whole group?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're a couple pieces away there. I think we've got a few spots, graduate assistants in particular. I think we've got more work to do there to fill those jobs. A couple more off the field positions, but for the most part we're close to being done. In terms of creating chemistry and morale with the group, I think it takes time. I think that this group, some of these people have worked together in the past. I think there's prior relationship, but there's certainly a lot of new faces too. I'll tell you what, these official visit weekends present some of those opportunities. I think there's nothing like, kind of getting in there and working together as a team. Recruiting presents that opportunity. And we've got a great group, one that I've been very impressed with, just the morale overall, the teamwork. That's what it's going to take. I think that when you hire people, you're looking for somebody that will be a great teammate, right? Somebody that has an authentic care for the players, someone that's an expert at the job that we're asking them to do, and certainly fit our recruiting footprint or bring a skill set or personality to the table that can help us in recruiting. So far, so good. I don't think that's going to be a problem with this group.
Mark Long.
Hey, Coach, we've heard for decades that you got to take care of your backyard in Florida, in the state. only six guys from the state. Do you feel like that's where you need to make inroads moving forward, or is that just kind of a 1 year kind of blip, given that you're from
Yeah.
Louisiana and whatnot?
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think that it's a product of the circumstance. I think, we were basically just had to go evaluate the players that were available, right? We looked all over the country, and I think we're pretty spread out in this class. So I think that's a product of the circumstances. Those are the players that, we felt like fit us from an evaluation standpoint, and then we had the resources to go get that accomplished. I think that's the one thing to remind ourselves of is, that Florida brand is strong, and it spread out and was able to do good work. But, our approach is going to be inside out. There's no question. I think history would indicate that when Florida has a really good football team, it starts right here in our backyard and works out. So that's the approach that we will take, and certainly with the 23 group, which we've already started on, that'll be the mentality for sure.
Graham Hall.
Hey, Coach, just want to get you kind of just address this, but what are the challenges of recruiting a guy like Andrew in Washington, and how did he come on your radar?
Yeah, no, Andrew is first of all an impressive young man, right? His character, the family that he comes from, really bright young man who's got a very specific plan, not only for football but as a student, as a person. The family that he comes from, their values, a lot of common ground there, and really excited about him. I think that, much like we just described in the question there, we just spread out and evaluated the players that were available. He did some evaluation work for us. Then he gets here on the official visit. The guy was 6'3", 259 pounds, and really moves well for his size. He's not only a heck of an outside linebacker, but he's a heck of a tight end as well. But he's going to be an edge player on defense. Big, tall, long, and a lot of growth potential there. So I think a unique athlete for his size. When he walks in the room, you're thinking that's the guy on the tape. So overall, the type of guy that we're looking for.
And obviously so much obsession with signal callers. Max Brown, what does he bring? Was he someone who was in your sphere before now, and what does he bring to the program?
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate to add two really good quarterbacks to the team, with Jack and Max. And certainly, I think Max, when you turn the tape on, you can immediately see the baseball background, right? The off-platform throws. It's really a natural thrower, a guy that is projected to be kind of a middle-round draft pick in baseball. He was 6'1.5", 200 pounds on his visit. Dad played receiver in the National Football League. really a good-looking athlete. We think he has upside. He just started playing quarterback 2 years ago, and a good runner. The guy can make some plays with his feet. We were able to go out there to his school, observe him, and was very impressed. So I think there's some pedigree there. The guy's a winner. I've been impressed with his leadership skills, and I think his best football's in front of him.
Baker.
Hey Billy, you referenced the 23 class a minute ago. When you've been out the last couple weeks, how much focus was on 22 versus how much was on 23?
Yeah, I think you build your schedule based off the 22s, and then, who are the 23 players maybe in that area, right? You try to do the best job you can. I think I took that approach. Jacob did a great job of mapping that out, and certainly each assistant coach kind of taking the same philosophy. So, we're hopeful that we won't be doing this much business in February next year, and we'll be able to be a little bit more strategic about our time on the road relative to the next group, right? So, but I think we made the most of it for sure.
And then I also wanted to ask about one of the staff additions. What is a game changer coordinator? Can you kind of explain that term?
Yeah, so Coach Couch is the special teams coordinator. He's really the special teams analyst. And really, Coach Couch was with us at the previous stop. We call our special teams game changers, right? So, we're trying to create a game-changing play. We all know the power of an explosive play on special teams. It's kind of our way to create some urgency, some importance to that part of the game. I think it's the area of your team where you start building culture. It's a combination of offensive and defensive players. Oftentimes, young players will get opportunities to contribute to the team first there, and then your walk-ons, can earn a niche on the team there as well. So, requires a lot of coordination, a lot of team effort. Coach Couch will be leading that area as an analyst off the field, and we're trying to change the game on special teams.
David Whitley.
Billy, last couple of days, Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin have sort of weighed in on NIL, and they've sort of lamented how those benefits are taking the place of other factors they think players should be considering. And I think there's a lot of, they're afraid to turn it into a bidding war, and the team with the school with the biggest war chest is going to win. Just curious, what kind of impact have you seen in this recruiting cycle of NIL? And given how apparently this is the way the game is played, are you confident that Florida has the program in place to compete in this marketplace?
Yeah, I'm surprised it took that long to ask that question. But, I do think that this name, image, and likeness concept is, I think that we're all wrapping our arms around it and really, wrapping our heads around it and trying to figure out what exactly this entails, where we're headed, right? I think the issues are right now, there's no parameters, there's really no guidelines outside of the laws within each state. I think each university is trying to solve that problem, come up with the best strategy. It's an area where we've been very aggressive. Certainly thankful for the partnership with Gator Collective, Gator Sports Properties, and their ability to get that done, get it worked out. But the players create a tremendous amount of revenue for these universities, right? This is this college football deal is it's major entertainment, right? So there's revenue generated, and they show up to watch the players, right? They don't show up to watch anybody else. So, I think there's an avenue here where we're moving towards revenue share. We're moving towards the player getting a piece of the pie. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think that it's a good thing. I think that the players are deserving given supply and demand, right? Basic economics here, right? So I do think that we need parameters, right? We need guidelines. We need, consistency across the board, relative to what there is to offer. But I think it's also an opportunity, right? So, for us, I think it can be a strength. I think the passion of this fan base, right? The University of Florida alumni. We're 450,000 plus strong. We've got an incredible sale independent of that, right? So name, image, and likeness, it just becomes another strength at the University of Florida. We're certainly excited about the opportunities that come with that. But I do think that, there's going to be some guidelines and parameters that come with this for sure.
Well, back to the Gator Collective and things. When it comes to the resources, people are throwing out numbers that Texas A&M is, like $25 billion. Whether that's ridiculous or not, there's no telling. If it just came down to resources and the program in place, will you be able to compete with Texas A&M and that type of situation they have there? Well,
I think we've got to realize that this is just a portion. This is just a part of the decision, right? I think there's so much that goes into a decision for a young man, independent of name, image, and likeness, right? But it's certainly part. It's part of the dynamic that we have now, right? I think much like the questions you're asking, I'm asking myself those same questions every day, right? So, as we go forward here, people will adjust. I think the leaders within our profession, within this market, will adjust, and there's going to be some things that come with this, right? I think a lot of this is to be determined. We're fortunate that we're in the state of Florida. We're fortunate in the relationships that we have. And we're gonna take full advantage of it while we can.
Chris in the back.
Hey, Coach. So obviously, with you having the early signing period and the winter portal, and now overall, what's your comfort level with where you're at based upon what you guys have gotten today to add on to what you got in the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I don't think we're ever quite. I don't think I've ever batted 1,000 on signing day. You have to tell some of our young people in the building, hey, this is a little more like baseball here, right? We gotta, you gotta swing a lot, and make contact. And at the end of the day, we need 25 really good hits, right? So it requires a little bit of perspective, if that makes sense. So, and resiliency, I would say. So, you got to have a short memory. You got to move on to the next one. And certainly as a competitor, some of those things that maybe you learned as a competitor, you can apply to recruiting for sure. But, we feel a lot of needs. I'm confident in each individual player that we've added, what they bring to the team, certainly the jobs that we think they can do for our team. But we're never, I don't think anybody's ever completely satisfied with what happens. But, so far so good. We got a few more out there. And then, we got to get ready for this spring portal period that is to come.
Brian in the back.
Coach, you've got 17 guys, counting your high school kids and your transfers, another 5 transfers. How many of the kids count back on last year, if you can tell us that? And then what does that mean for you going forward, for example, with transfers? Do you have a set number, like another 5, another 7 that you might add, and maybe another, how many high school kids you think you might add?
Sure. Well, the high school players obviously would be today, right? I think, and then there's kind of a balance. When we get to the spring, we obviously are going to have additional spots remaining where we could add players, right? So there's been movement on our roster. We've got plenty of options going forward. There's no cap. I don't necessarily see us hitting a cap when we get to the spring portal period, if that makes sense. But there's a delicate balance here, right, between the number of players that we add and then also hitting that 85 number. So a little bit of this is to be determined, right? It's always a big juggling act. It's a big math problem. You're adding and subtracting today. Certainly as we approach May 1st, there'll be more attrition. And really in the transition year with a new staff and kind of a new culture, I think that there's some things that come with that, both positive and negative. So I think it's a really good question, but I think a lot of that is to be determined based off of the rest of the day and then also any movement that we have later on in the semester.
And roster management, I think, is everybody's problem, because you got super seniors, got anybody that played during 2020 that year doesn't count, et cetera, like that. How difficult is the juggling act you've got to go through to get your roster and determine, okay, do we really have 85 or do we have 78 or do we have 95?
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. I think that, and especially when you inherit a group, right? I think there's been great teamwork with Jacob LaFrance, our compliance department, certainly some of the previous staff members in terms of, where exactly, and then each individual's a little bit different, right? You may talk to one kid and technically he's a junior, but in his mind, he's a senior, right? So I think some clarity, with the players, where are they at, how do they view themselves? And then, you're looking at each individual position. You're trying to hit a certain number. We've done great research in terms of how many players at each position we like to carry, not only with the scholarship players, but with the walk-on players. So great question, and I think it's one of the challenges that comes with the attrition and the addition, right? So we went from having kind of 2 times of the year, to adding 2 more, if that makes sense. So that math problem is being done a couple more times a year.
Nick.
Being here at Florida, you'll probably have a couple more chances to go up against your old boss and Coach Saban. But Jalen Farmer was a guy that you guys identified pretty early on. and someone that Alabama came in late for. What was, I guess, just the scout on him, and how are you guys able to hold on to him?
Yeah, no, Jalen was a previous commit, and one of the first players that we went to see. We were very impressed with the initial evaluation. This is a big man, right? He's 6'4.5", 330 pounds. I think he may actually be under 330. He plays with effort, right? He plays with power. He comes from a really great family. Mom and dad are really impressive people, and he is all business, right? I mean, this guy, not really all about the glitz and the glamour and the recruiting. I mean, he's got a plan, and I was very impressed with his maturity, kind of his approach. And certainly, it's a good thing when some of the best programs in the country come in and try to recruit some of your commits. So, but we've got a ton of confidence in Jalen. We believe in him, and we're ecstatic about what he's going to bring to our team. So, big win today for the Gators for sure.
Do you have the paper in front of you, or do you know all these heights and weights? Because we'll start quizzing you every time you come up here.
Yeah.
Been on it though.
Yeah, we got great people in the personnel department. They do a good job of keeping me up to speed.
And then you were on, I think it was SEC Network, and you were talking kind of about the 4 things that you guys try to instill in the players. It was character, opportunity, knowledge, and you said that the development and the talent was kind of under those. Could you just tell me a little bit more why talent, I guess, is under the other 3 things?
Well, I think, so I don't want you to misunderstand me here. The evaluation part of what we do is critical, right? And then the recruitment part, right? We're identifying certain things that we're looking for at each position, height, length, verified speed, all these critical factors relative to the jobs that we're going to ask that young man to do. If we're doing a good job evaluating and we're doing a really good job recruiting, then we have the player, the young man, right, who he is as a person, student, and player. He shows up day one, right? Typically, the talent component is not going to change very much, right, if that makes sense, right? So, you have to separate these 2 entities, right? I think sometimes we put all these expectations on these guys like, okay, hey, he was ranked number 2 in the country at his position, so that's going to translate to this, right? When in reality, that's just a starting point in a really long journey that has a lot of adversity, a lot of great experiences, but a lot of ups and downs, right? I mean, I think these guys are nowhere close to being who they are, who they're going to be relative to, the things that come with this. This is a critical time in their life, and what we try to do is kind of flip the script a little bit. Now that you're here, right, let's work really hard on your character. Let's try to increase your knowledge, and then let's focus in on your development in all these different areas as a player. So the character component, I think, is the single most important thing to sustaining success, right? These guys are gifted athletes. They're going to have some success just as a result of their physical ability, but can they sustain it, right? Can do these things that the game teaches you translate to when you're finished as a player, right? And we want to try to get these guys to use football and don't allow football to use them, right? So, I think a little bit of that is, hey, look, I'm trying to sign the most talented team that we can sign each year, right? Each one of these guys is important that we do that. But, once they arrive, it's not about that anymore, right? I don't really care how tall you are anymore. I care about, can we improve you as a person, student, and player? So, and those are the things that the player can control, and we try to get them to focus on those things instead of getting caught up in the hype, right? I think we've got to alleviate some of those expectations that are put on these guys and get them to focus on each day. All right, hey, let's go to work on our character today. Let's increase our knowledge, whether it's our education at the University of Florida or our football IQ, the things that we can learn that can help us play faster, anticipate better, be more productive. And then the development part is how we practice, how we teach, strength and conditioning, sports science, nutrition, the training room, right? These are all areas where a guy can maximize the ability that he does have. So there you go.
Thomas?
Coach, I was wondering, has anything in these first 59 days from the recruiting standpoint made you surprise you about this Florida job?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that kids want to come to the University of Florida. You know, I think this is a powerful place, right? This is a strong brand, right? This is one of those iconic places in college football where there's history, where there's tradition, where there's been legendary players, legendary coaches. We've got one of the most incredible venues in all of college sports in the Swamp, right? We've got a top 5 public education to offer, right? We've got an incredible classic college town in Gainesville, Florida, right? And there's passion about this place. And, you know, I think that becomes a reality all of a sudden when you're selling this place, when you're on the road and you're working, you're hustling in a short period of time. You know, I've been very pleased with the work that we've been able to get done, right? And that's a tribute to all these people in our organization that have been working really hard. So this is a special place, right? I mean, this is a real opportunity, right? One that's very capable, you know. The key here is that we take all this potential and we translate that to performance, right? So, you know, and I think that's where, you know, we've got to, you know, one day at a time, right? So there's great opportunity here, and we look forward to that.
Back it out.
Hey, Billy. Hayden Hansen, he was someone that you had committed at Louisiana. What have you seen in his game as well as his character that led to you bringing him here?
Yeah, Hayden is a very impressive player. He's 6'6" and a quarter. He weighed 256 on the visit. This guy's a former quarterback. You know, and a guy that really blew me away when he came and did a private workout for us at Louisiana. I thought I was on reality TV or something. You know, I mean, it's like this guy doesn't have the opportunities that maybe I would think he would have, right? So I think a little bit of that is a result of him playing quarterback. Right, a couple games into his junior year, they moved him to tight end. He kind of buys into that. The film wasn't great as a junior. And he would tell you that, but I think he took a big step forward, and he ran 4.79, 4.81 for us at UL, and this is a big man with hands, and I think his ceiling is really, really high. So you pair that with the family background, kind of a blue collar, really bright kid, lives, you know, probably an hour and a half west of Dallas, right, kind of out in West Texas. So you got to kind of, you know, you got to be intentional about getting there. So I think there's some things that come with that. So I think it's one of the better evaluations in the class, in my opinion.
He had mentioned after his visit that you guys had talked a lot about 12 personnel, and you guys have a couple running backs, a couple tight ends, whether they're signees or transfers. When the time comes, is that something that with the numbers you have, you feel comfortable installing?
Yeah, no question. We've got a good group on campus, and I think we've got a couple really good additions here in this class, right? I think, you know, I mean, it's pretty well documented the type of system that we ran at the prior stop. We'll continue with that philosophy, and certainly tight ends will be a big piece of the puzzle in terms of, you know, presenting a lot of variables to the defense. So the more versatile those players are, the more variables we can present, and the more difficult we can be to defend.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys, thank you all.
Who's next for on staff?
It's a great question right there. I'm not sure what NFL team he played for. I'm going to guess Cleveland, but it's a good question. Thank you all.
Thank you.